A woman in Birmingham has won a court case against her former employers after a male colleague made jokes about her breast size whilst she was pregnant. And another went on to make a joke in a WhatsApp group that giving birth is less painful for women than a kick in the privates for a man.
God.
So is it a good thing that sexist comments are no longer seen as just jokes? And should we encourage women to call these kind of jokes out? And we call it jokes quite loosely, really, because clearly this woman did not feel that there was anything funny about it.
It's funny to the man, but it certainly didn't seem to be funny to her. And I think at the end of the day, we can all kind of have a little giggle and a laugh, but it's the way it's presented, it's the context, isn't it? Because if it's presented respectfully and it's amicable on both sides, but it's when it starts, the pendulum goes one way or the other, and it's a little heavy-handed and disrespectful, and it goes on and on and on. It almost becomes just like the school bully, where that child ends up fearing going to school because it's relentless, and they're going to think, who's going to, pick on me today, and when am I going to get told this or that?
I think any man who would call out a pregnant woman in an unkind way...
Oh, good luck. Don't mess with a pregnant woman.
That man really deserves being called out. Because I think that's a shocking thing to do.
Yeah.
Personally.
I do too. I think the thing is, you just know, don't you? You've just got a gut feeling if somebody is being creepy or if somebody is being funny.
Yeah.
And we can all, and especially in show business, there's a lot more banter around that, isn't there, than maybe in other businesses.
There's a lot of darling.
And so it's just I do think sometimes it is confusing for men, especially... Well, I mean, I only know this industry because the sort of banter has gone. And certain people say, oh, it's OK, it's OK, it's us. But I would never say that now to somebody that I found creepy. Whereas when I was growing up, I never had the strength to say to anyone, oh, don't. I would laugh away every joke. Every joke, I would just laugh it off. Creepy directors, creepy producers.
Which, of course, is giving them...
Sorry, the director went, all right. Not you,
but it's giving people the signal that behaviour's OK. That's the problem, isn't it?
Back in the day, though, in an office, I mean, it was not remiss, in a way, which is a shameful thing to say. Somebody might come along, pinch your bum or whatever it is, and you dealt with it yourself. You just say, like in Northern Ireland, we have a phrase, catch yourself on, that is ridiculous. So you just dealt with it yourself. Now, I'm not saying that was right, but it's just how it happened then. And so I think it's good that bad behaviour now can be called out in an office and not acceptable.
But I think we have to be careful not to assume it's all OK now, because it's not. I think in corporations, there's a lot more protection. But I think out there in the world, I've got an 18-year-old and a 23-year-old, and they come home with stories identical to what me and my friends and my sister and everybody went through. And my daughters will often say that a lot of men have the language now that's not acceptable, but actually...
The behaviour.
And the men that they find the most difficult are men in their 50s. It's not really the younger people.
So the workplace is probably potentially a safer place sometimes for people. It's when you're back out on the street.
Because I think corporations have gone maybe sometimes too far. But there is everybody ticking a million boxes now.
And sometimes other things can go too far. I mean, I know one man who, in this business actually, was at a planning meeting, and he was called to book because a young girl said he looked at me too longingly for too long.
Oh, but a lot can be really perverted and weird.
But you could argue the other side and say sometimes it goes too far in the reporting side as well.
But I think usually what can happen with these stories is somebody has got to a point where they can't take it anymore and they say it. I think it's rare that a woman will report something when it's just once. I think there's been like an
atmosphere. There's a behaviour.
There's a behavioural pattern. You start dreading going into work, you feel uncomfortable.
Like the school bully.
You get that creepy feeling. And I think it's great.
I know the government have talked about getting a new measures into school to actually better train teachers to look out for even young boys for the misogyny type of behaviour, like the Andrew Tate sort of attitude towards women. And I think that's important to start that lesson very, very early on.
And have an open conversation.
And even with my boys, I'll say, look, it's very hard for you to understand the fear that women have on the street. If it's dark and there's a woman walking towards you on the street, just maybe think for 1 second, how is she feeling as I'm approaching, and what would it take for you to walk on the other side of the street just to give her that comfort?
My
so
husband
it's
always
just the
does
education.
That. He always crosses the street because he knows that.
You know you're innocent and
you're
everything,
innocent.
but it's just it's just courtesy.
My husband always will. He will always and even if he's coming home and he sees somebody might be a little bit and he will, and that's what we need as women. We are sick and tired of we take so many precautions now to be safe. And actually what we want is there's way more good men than bad men.
Yes.
And we need you to help us and we need you to stand up for us. And we need, if you're in a workplace and you know that somebody is saying something that you wouldn't want to be said to your daughter, your mother, your sister, just say something gently.
Don't wait until
or
the victim to actually speak out. Look out for one another.
You can help us. And don't laugh it off if you think, oh God, he's a bit
Or
of a
join
creep.
in. Don't join in.
Yeah.
You know, it's not cool.
We need.
I think that's probably the best way to put it. In fact, I mean, gosh, you've been in the modelling industry for how long as well, Pam? You've probably seen a whole variety of sort of inappropriate moments.
Very much so.
Yeah, it's very, very tough.